Hello everyone and welcome to another video. Today I'll be showing you how to get to Planespotting Paradise in Skiathos, which is beside runway 01 from here in Skiathos Airport. So you head this direction down here. I'll double check the runway designator. I can't remember which direction or bearing it is, but it's basically the runway that arrivals usually happen on. So arrivals will usually happen on the runway that's going this way. Actually, let me check it. So we will be heading to runway 01. It is a 01, the northerly runway, with a 10-degree bearing. Right. This true north. So 00 on the compass heading is equivalent to 360. So this is where the Skiathos bus picks up, but we're going to be walking it. We have some time before we check in, and I'm not even sure if this bus goes there, but we can catch that in a bit. Just need to make sure the microphone keeps recording. My phone's on 34%. That's my charge in Sofia Airport. Disaster. You couldn't charge it there. The charging stuff wasn't working. Anyway, that's really a side point. So we're heading over to 01. There's a supermarket along the way, and there's also a cafe. So hopefully you can charge your phone there in the meantime. The runway is quite short, so if you've watched our FR4791 trip report video, which will be linked below, linked below or in the card above, I do recommend you check that out. You'll have seen quite the harsh landing that we had, for the precise reasons that the runway is quite short, so you don't have much room for error as a pilot. So I think the way is actually that way. Yep, it is that way. So you can see there, that's literally the runway. You can see how close the runway is. So that's where we're going to head over. I would also recommend that if you're doing this, you do wear ear defenders. It's for your own kind of protection. Actually, we can walk this way. That's grand, because they do fly quite low, as you can see here. It's quite close, and the QC of aircraft, especially the older generation aircraft, so the 737s and A320s, which are coming in, not good for your ears. So protect your ears, folks. Your future self will thank you. I've got the ear defenders in my bag. So we're going to walk over to the Planespotting Beach, the infamous Planespotting Beach. Now, if you come here outside of the peak season, so at the moment it is July, heading into August, it's the 26th of July, there are lots of charter flights coming in, and there's lots of scheduled charter flights coming in, or just scheduled flights for summer peak. So you'll actually catch stuff. But if you come here off peak, you won't catch many flights coming in. And even actually surprisingly, I was looking at the flight schedule, there isn't that many flights coming in, or as many as expected it to be. So, as you can see here, that's the airport in the background. So you just kind of walk heading up north. It's really easy to find it. It's literally all visual. Now, I do want to find also you also want to find a supermarket, because in this heat, hydration is also crucial. Don't play with your health, folks. So as you can see here, this might not be the most ideal way to walk, but there was other people walking here, and to be honest, I'm the kind of person that will just walk wherever, especially if it saves time in this heat. It's, I think, 28 degrees. That's the gate post. That's the gate post there. I don't think it's actually in use, but yeah, you don't want to be walking around in this heat for more than is absolutely necessary. Anyway, there is a footpath here, and you can see here, this is the perimeter road of the airport. What do you call it? The perimeter road, and drainage as well to stop it leaking in. Oh, look at that taxi. Quite something, alright. So yeah, if you want to walk the more, I guess, safe or legit way, you can always walk with a slight detour on that road to the right. So then once we reach this, we'll catch some videos of some aircrafts landing in, check the schedule, and then also there's a supermarket on Google Maps somewhere nearby. Obviously most people know how to use Google Maps. This is more just a visual reference, because I know even myself, I can use Google Maps, but sometimes actually like this here, someone else doing it, just to double check, because especially as you can see here, for example, a lot of roads don't have footpaths, so you want to suss out, can you actually walk on this? Well, I personally can. I think you could, but it really depends on personal choice, because some people are comfortable walking on this kind of stuff, others not so much. So but as you can see, like, cars don't drive too quickly. And what I might do is I might just stop and check where that supermarket is, because I really should be getting liquids. So I'll be back with you in just a sec. So the supermarket's actually up this way, and because there's no planes arriving for at least 40 minutes, we're actually just going to head to the supermarket. So it's up this road, but the plane spotting spot is down that road. Is that corn? I think that's corn. So folks, there's corn for you if you haven't seen it before. God, it's actually roasting. So you have a footpath here. I'm going to stock up in the supermarket full of ants. But yes, Skiathos, there's an odd calmness to it. At the moment it's about 8, just past 8 in the morning. So it's still quite early. But as you can see, still busy enough. People are already heading to the beaches, and what you'll notice is I'd say people will be heading around this time to the beaches, because any later, once you get towards 12 to 3, it's absolutely scorching heat. Really can't be hanging around in the sun, to be honest. I don't even know what the runway length is, but I imagine it's quite short. I think the other heading on the runway is 01, so it's usually plus 180 degrees, so it should be 19, 01 and 19, but it might be 17. So sometimes aircraft will land on 17. Obviously that's to do with wind, but most of the time departures are on 17 and landings are on the 01, and the 01 is where you want to be. You can always check the stuff on Flightradar. Anyway, so I think that's the supermarket. Just there, pop in there, get some snacks and a drink, and then circle back towards, and look at this. What kind of design is this like? It's not the most ideal for walking. If there's bike rentals, that'd be class. I have to look into it once we check into the hotel. I can leave the bag. But yeah, here you go. A club bent. The Greek alphabet's interesting. It's a mix of like Cyrillics and the Latin alphabet and whatever that first letter comes from. But this is the supermarket. As I say, during summer, do make sure to stock up. There's a cafe there as well. So we'll pop in there, stock up, and then I'll catch you folks once we're back out. So yeah, as you can see, no massive diversion. It's about a 3-minute walk, 5 depending on your pace. So we're back from the supermarket and we just bought some sunscreen, some snacks, water, lemon juice. All came to 17 quid. I want some flip-flops. Probably should have bought beach towels or potentially, but I presume there'll be other supermarkets don't want to go too overboard because they'll have to carry this stuff around. But it's only 17 quid. The sunscreen, got some Nivea sunscreen. I had the sunscreen for the face, but just for the rest of it. And it was only €9. If you check on Boots or Amazon, Irish UK prices, £19. So Greek supermarkets are cheap. The islands are known to be expensive, and I'm sure that the actual restaurants, all that, especially tourist spots, will be expensive. But at least the supermarkets are cheap, and so for the more budget-conscious travels, the accommodation is insanely expensive. It was like €75 a night, but at least that's a own room. But yeah, look, there's always going to be places you're just going to have to take the hit. So we're walking over. There's 2 flights landing in at 8:41 and then 8:47. They're both Ryanair and Easyjet, some low-cost carrier stuff. Nothing overly exciting. But yeah, we're heading over now to catch that. So I should be just putting the bag on both sides of my thing because I have 2 bags on the right side of the shoulder, and obviously it's not good to kind of have all the weight dispersed on one side. This is just, what kind of design is this? This is one thing about Mediterranean lifestyle. Things aren't always designed in the most practical way, and Greece obviously has some sort of stereotype that's not necessarily always true. But you can see, like, having a lamppost on the footpath is not ideal because that forces you on the road. Bulgaria is also really bad for that. And there's just countries that are kind of bad for these kind of things. Because, like, obviously, it was in Italy. If you watch the film China Trip Report, was never seen something as bad as that, in the sense that no information, and this is like one of the biggest airports in Europe. The fact there's no timetable, no route information was rather shocking, to be quite frank. But at least the people were friendly and the staff were friendly, even though they this was sometimes at other times. So anyway, we need to kind of get there on time, get the defenders out, set up, and then get filming. My phone's also running low on battery, which is not ideal. And then just look at all that dust that's building up. So that's where the supermarket is anyway. It's quite handy if you're going out Planespotting, get some kit. Have the hat as well, probably should put on a hat. Now, one thing to note is there's signs, we'll see those signs there when you get there. These are based off online, that it will blow your hat away. So just kind of also don't have loose stuff carrying over because the jet blast will be quite strong. So do be careful. And let me just monitor the time. So it's 8:27. I just don't want to end up there when the plane's about to land and I don't have the ear protection, all that set up, because that just wouldn't be ideal. I mean, look, if you follow the airport perimeter fence, you really can't go wrong. They're still operating on runway 01, so our aircraft that we just landed on is from Sofia, SPRZB. That just took off there. I could hear it take off. That's how loud it was. I was in the supermarket and you can hear it. Well, I think it might have been outside at that point. But yeah, you know, to get shots for takeoff. So anyway, yeah, like, it's really simple stuff. But of course, if you want to stay on the safe side, you follow the footpaths. GPS accuracy here isn't always the strongest. That's just something to bear in mind. So anyway, we're just walking along. They drive here on the right. It probably should be on the left. You generally want to walk on the side against traffic so traffic can see you and you can see traffic oncoming. And you're not just relying on your ears. I presume this is some sort of car rental here. It's quite hilly as well, as you can see here. I haven't been to Skiathos before. This is my first time in Skiathos. This is my first time in Greece in 10 years. Yeah, maybe a bit longer. Actually 13. So I was even like looking up how to say, so hello, informal hi, yeah. Thanks is, oh Jesus, forgot already. And Chapos, I think it was. And Chapos, they like the chras sounds in Greek. The chra, is I think they're called fricatives, where they combine lots of consonants together. I might be getting mixed up. Oh, look at that, Citroen DC3. So as you can see here, that's it right there. That's the Jetblast fence. So as you can see, it is a 10-minute walk from the terminal. It's very close, and the handy thing about this is then you can get the bus back, walk up. This is the quickest way, so this is the way that we're walking. As you can see, it's fairly safe. People aren't driving too fast. Just keep a lookout. There's an extra car in here coming from behind me, but it's just because in this heat you really just don't want to be walking around. So we'll catch those two aircraft and then I will find somewhere to charge my phone. So yeah, the runway is pretty much the length of the island. It's really, really narrow. I was kind of thinking maybe we'll get a go around. I think because some of these islands are notorious for go arounds. Madeira, notorious for go arounds. Skiathos, I don't think it is. So Skiathos, things work because I don't think there's much wind in Skiathos. I think Madeira, the issue is the crosswinds. But you know, obviously, the precision as well means that precision, like the shorter the runway, and more precise you have to be, the more room there is where the more likely go arounds are. So this is it. We have 10 minutes to set up. You can see here the warning signs. So obviously no one authorized entry, but you can also see warning signs that are low flying aircraft here. So this is the spot here. Just to the left, this is the cafe. So this is the Planespotting cafe. As you can see, I think it's called. Explore Skiathos and Skopolis. Skopolis is a surrounding island. So then, this is it. If you pop in here, this is, I think, the Planespotting spot. Obviously, there's other people hanging about here. So, yeah, handy enough, especially if you arrive early, because a lot of these flights arrive in early. Check-in for hotels is usually on until later. So this is a good way to kill the time, honestly, because you don't want to be going to beaches and stuff with your valuables. So as you can see here, beware of aircraft jet blast, risk of severe injury or death. Aircraft exhaust gases. Do a hobby without risking your life. Danger, aircraft jet blast. So these are kind of key things to know. Airside safety is a crucial, aviation safety is a crucial thing. Ear defenders, jet blast, do not stand underneath the engines. Jet blast can be severe, you can get sucked into engines. It can be nasty stuff. So, you know, fire, beware. And then this is it here. So this is proper class, yeah. As you can see here, the runway, this is a very sketchy. But I presume that's for like the enthusiasts, because like that kind of security, not great, it's quite low, but I guess that's just for the jet blast. I would personally probably stay somewhere that's not a direct part of the runway, just there to the left, because otherwise you are in the engine's way. So, folks, now I'm just going to get set up and then show you some of the aircraft. So, this is how you get to it, and do make sure to follow the safety, guidelines, because 2-3 minutes of fun is not worth the very serious side effects. So that does mean wear your protection and stay away from the engine. I would stay to the left there because you really don't want to be where the engines are. So yeah, soon for you, we'll get set up and show you some aircrafts. So as you can see here, we are practicing what we preach. Got the air defenders ready to go.
Oh, he's got it in. It's going to be noisy.
What do you think?
On a completely unrelated note, some black swans. A black swan. I haven't seen that before.
a quick cool down drink break between planes.
Even the police wait for the plane spotters. Mad little place. All about it though. hours to wait for the jet to go, because the jet blast can be quite fast. All the way over there. You see, holding out the car scope. I appreciate he's being like the dad figure, making sure everyone follows aviation safety. Well, it's important. So, folks, that completes our plane spotting
For today.
at Skiathos Airport. You can see there's 4 aircraft there. There's a Scandinavian SAS A320. There are 3 Jet 2 737-800s, and I think that's probably the stand capacity at Skiathos Airport. So it's kind of the peak hour when those UK charters and the Scandinavian airlines arrive. So what we're going to do now is I'm going to show you how to get to the city centre from the Planespotting spot, because that's where I'm headed next. So this way you know how to get there from the airport, which is over there. You can see the terminal building. So that building over there is the terminal. That's where we walked over from, and now the city centre is that way. So this is just straight ahead, and then we'll conclude the video. As we're walking, I'll just give my own insights or kind of list observations from the sightseeing, or not the sightseeing, this Planespotting spot, and just a general overview. And that bar there is the Planespotting Bar. It's actually really good. The staff there is super friendly. You can go leave your stuff there. You can even, there's even a charging port. I'll charge my phone there because my phone is on low battery, and you can leave your stuff there, come out to the plane spot in this little area, or even here on the beach, and then head back down. You'll see there's a turning circle there for the aircraft, since, as I was saying earlier, I think, unless it was a short, because obviously the island's small, it's more space, it saves space and money not having to do taxiways instead using turning circles at both ends. That's why also, if you were watching any of the landing videos, you'll notice they go all the way to the end of the runway and then turn back around, because again, there's no taxiways. Apart from the one to the stand, but there's no like taxiways along the length of the runway. Right, so some stuff I've noticed is obviously the Jetblast. This is actually the closest that I have been to, in terms of plane spotting, to the actual action, if that makes sense. So, you know, there aren't that many airports around the world like this. There's St. Martin's in the Caribbean, there's Skiathos here, and there's only a handful of others. So the Jetblast is quite strong. You know, I tend to avoid the Jetblast, but even when the aircraft's turning, you can feel a Jetblast if you're not careful. And even notice in the video, I did show some spots where you could see people, stuff or themselves get blown away by the Jetblast, because it was interesting. What I noticed is like the cars would always stop if there's an aircraft waiting and wait for the aircraft to take off. People didn't. And it's the irony there. People were protecting their cars more so than themselves, because the people who were driving cars were avoiding their cars being the best test, because obviously it's that Jetblast can, you know, make a car go flying. If you've ever watched Top Gear, you'll see they've done that with the Citroen C3, and that one's particularly light, to be fair. But you know, that was just an interesting observation. So that's that. And in terms of like aircraft movement, you can kind of see, based off the airlines that are arriving here, who are the kind of main demographic tourist markets that come to Skiathos. So there's a few Ryanair aircraft now. Ryanair kind of operates throughout Europe, and it's interesting actually they have a Bulgarian flight to Skiathos. I didn't realise Bulgarian market was that big for Skiathos, but that's one of them, and to be fair, it was cheap enough, so no. But it must be successful enough because it's still going. I think they pulled the Sofia Varna once. It must be one of the more popular summer routes for Bulgaria. They also have one from Bucharest, so I guess they have like that kind of Eastern European Skiathos market, then they have that UK Western Europe Skiathos market. Jet2 obviously from the UK. Then you have Scandinavian from the Scandinavia, essentially, you know, Norway and Denmark and Sweden. So we got in touch with their so then, and apart from that, I think that's for the main airlines. And there's obviously some Greek domestic airlines, the ATR, and then not Cyprus Airlines, was like a Cyprus Airlines. There's also private jet, although that Cyprus Airlines didn't actually show up on the Flightradar correctly. A lot of people missed it. You could see people were devastated in the pub. The bar that they missed it. A pub is essentially an indoor bar. And then, you know, if it has a beer garden, still a pub, but look. We don't get into the technicalities of that. I know some people can rent quads here. So yeah, you can rent quads here. They can be a bit dangerous though, and speaking of the devils, there they are. So, that's kind of that, but I have to say it's pretty cool, the plane spotting. The only thing is you won't see a variety of aircraft. You're essentially just seeing 737s and A320s. I think there was 757s, I think, flying here last year when Jet2 had them. So there isn't that much in terms of variety. And it's all just standard airlines. But this is the busy season. So this is kind of an arrival and fly in. Otherwise, it's just kind of that ATR, the Greek one. Interestingly, no one was wearing air defenders. No one was wearing any protection. I had a few people comment on the air defenders. Even was talking to someone there. They said Manchester who was asking, you know, obviously why I had the air defenders. And it was like, yeah, exactly, that sort of thing. But yeah, it's just because cumulatively, noise damage does have a serious effect. As you can see here, there's no footpaths anywhere, so people do tend to drive a bit slow, and I guess because of like obviously the jet blast, obviously because of like people even beeping at the corners, the blind bends. I think the driver's a bit more careful here. And all that. And I think I spent 5 hours at the Planespotting spot. I wasn't planning to spend that much. But it's perfect timing because now I can go and check into the hotel. It's just crazy. I think about it in retrospect. And then here is where the ferry picks up from as well. Another interesting thing is the ATR departs from runway 17. I think it was the 19, the northerly runway. So it landed on the southern. Sorry, it landed on the northerly runway, but took off from the southerly runway, which is quite strange because all the other aircraft then took off and landed in the same runway. There's a top for a second. Oh, maybe they changed directions because of wind direction. But no, it's strange because you think the ATR is actually, the wind direction is more important. Unless potentially that's why. I don't know. It's a bit confusing. I didn't quite understand why that happened. But it happened nonetheless. Wow, it's really warm. I think it's only like 28 degrees when I was checking the weather yesterday, the day before, but it's probably, that was probably yesterday, the day before, it's probably like 30 something degrees. Because it is extremely hot. I'm roasting, but nice cold shower will cool us down and gonna finally dump all this stuff. That was a great thing about that bar, because if you ever hear like the suitcases, you're waiting for your hotel check-in, you can just leave your stuff there. It's safe, you know. It just saves you the hassle, because like you can see there's people there with bags and whatnot and fancy equipment. I'm gonna stop recording once we reach over there. This is the start of the city centre, and this is kind of the city centre area. This is kind of like the pier. You can see here they have restaurants, but look, none of this is particularly that important. So, and when I say important, it's not really relevant to aviation. So, we'll kind of leave that. But yeah, that's kind of how you get from Skiathos city centre to the airport. It's pretty straightforward. You just follow the coast. You go straight that way. You'll get there, and it's the same with the airport. It's really difficult to get lost. I presume there's footpaths, roads as well. But look, everyone's walking here, so I think it's generally fine. So I think they have a boat going stuff as well. Obviously, because it's in the vicinity of a runway, they kind of need to have this. That's what I was trying to think. Is this because of the runway, or is this because they just don't want boats here? But customers, I feel it's probably the former, because obviously it's going to be a serious issue with that. So folks, that's also where the ferry terminal is. If you come in here by ferry and you want to get into Skiathos airport, then once you get off the ferry, you just head this way and then straight down there. That's also where the bus station is. So if you want to get from the bus station to the airport, it's also that way. The bus will also take you to the airport, but then you have to walk. And the walk here, to be fair, isn't that long. It's only 10 minutes from the airport. I think it's about 15 to 20 minutes from the city centre. All perfectly walkable. Or if you're using a squad bike with bicycles, etc., you can also do that. I bought some waving hats. I probably should have just put them on at this point. The hassle of that. So this is Skiathos City Centre, folks.
Now you have a sense of the directions from Skiathos Airport to Skiathos City Centre, and in the next part we'll be looking at the reverse operations on runway 19, which is much rarer, so watch part 2 and make sure to subscribe. So to get to runway 19 you need to get this minibus from the Skiathos bus station to Xanemos. This bus runs at very odd intervals. It's a minibus, but you can get there, and there is again a beach bar there.
So folks, actually continuation of the Planespotting video, but this is how you get to the other end of the runway. So this would be runway 17 or 19. I need to double check where it is. This is the minibus that takes you to Xanemos. So this is where it picks up. It's very odd intervals. There's a beach over there, so you can see there the plane warnings, and obviously there's not many plane spotters here. But yeah, so now we have to kill 2 hours here, which is just great. Didn't take the camera because wasn't really planning for this to be like so, but there you go. That's it here. That's how you get here with this bus. It picks up from the port if you scan the QR code on any of the maps, which I'll show you now. If you scan this QR code on the free maps, which you'll get everywhere when the wind stops blowing, you can easily get a timetable for that. It's basically every hour to every 2 hours, depending. Now, this wouldn't really be a spot for plane spotting, but you can see here there's the same kind of warning sign. So if it's ever operations on this side, Jetblast can still be an issue, so which is rare enough. But at this point, the planes will be fired high enough. So this is the other end of Skiathos Airport, as you can see, out at Xanemo, yeah. Right for runway 19. I don't want to say it's 19, it should be 19. If it's not, it's 18 or 17, so you know what runway I'm talking about. I should check this, but I'll put it in the description anyway. So basically this will be on the south end of the island. There's a beach here, and obviously there's no plane spotters here because one, runway operations are usually on 01, and two, because as you can see it's high up, so you don't get the same kind of experience. This is kind of the perimeter. As you can see, this is a gate post, and that's the construction site. There's meant to be a departure at some point, so I'll show you what that looks like, and stay tuned for that. So actually the warning site here on runway 19, it'll just check that it's runway 19, which makes sense. Our compass is 360 degrees. If one end is 01, the other end will be plus 180 degrees, which would be 19 and 190. Bearing just south of true south, not south of true south, so that doesn't make any sense. It's just west of true south. So this sign is slightly different, changed from flying debris. So obviously the Jetblast can make FFOD, which is the official aviation term, fly about. So yeah, that's just something that I call out. So you can see the aircraft there lurking. It actually seems to run operations to runway 19, unless that's an aircraft that landed. Flightradar was saying there's an aircraft that departs, but yeah, look at that. That's a Ryanair plane. You can see the tail there. Wow, so it's runway 19 today. As you can see, there's the Jetblast. You can see, just look at all the smoke that's being blown onto the beach. Great little beach, isn't it? You get Xanemos and you get a bunch of Jetblast. That's quite surprising that they're in those operations, so I'm glad I did the plane spotting yesterday. Because I was looking at the Flightradar, I was like, what's going on there? Why is the plane turning to go to the end of the runway, hasn't taken off, and that's why. So there's a turning circle there. So folks, anyway, that was that. So this is the not so popular and not so recorded runway 19. Actually, it's also horrendous being on this beach when takeoff's on runway 19 because you'll get FOD blown into you. And imagine you're swimming and the Jetblast actually blasts you into the deep end. Doesn't sound like it's particularly safe, to be quite honest. So yeah, do exercise caution, do look at Flightradar if you're here. Xanemos, sorry, there it says Xanano, here it's saying Xanemos. But anyway, you can see there is the sign. So there's another departure. I'm actually fuming that runway 19 operations, because it's a nightmare if you actually want to go on this beach, because like wouldn't dare leave anything there, could like get blown into the water. As you can see, there's other plane spotters running to get this, but you're not going to see anything from here. This is really just for illustrative purposes. This is definitely not the spot for plane spotting. You can see there the tail of the aircraft. I should do what this guy's doing and actually climb up there. He knows where it's at. And I just want to also see what the effect of the Jetblast is. This is more of an audio recording for this visual. And this can't be good for the ears. Look at that. You can see the aircraft there. I wonder how good the view is from there, but actually maybe we'll catch an arrival in here, that'd be nice. Speaking of the devil, there comes an arrival. Perfect timing. Right, I have no idea what aircraft that is, but I'll stop talking and film this arrival. There's a hill there you can go up for honestly, not a half shabby spot for oh, that wasp was trying to sting me. Not a half shabby spot for plane spotting either. Obviously not as good as Runway 01, but actually much better than expected for landings.
Thanks for watching, folks. Make sure to subscribe and hopefully you enjoyed this plane spotting. Off the bucket list, Planespotting Paradise. It truly is phenomenal Skiathos airport. Most recommend for any aviation fan.